Hey guys, NickonAquaMagna here, and welcome to another Sonic Exodus development video. In the next few videos, we're going to be talking about exploration, which as you can imagine is one of the most important elements of the game, because this is the main draw of the island, is the places that you're allowed to explore on it. We say allowed because what we're trying to convey with this game is how we imagine a classic Sonic game would play in a 3D space. Most 3D Sonic games released by Sega tend to confine the player in a certain set space, a certain path that amounts to little more than a series of tunnels that occasionally intersect with other tunnels. Occasionally we'll see something that branches out and opens up and starts to feel more like a world that's alive in its depth, like modern Seaside Hill from Sonic Generations. But it is very rare that we see anything with that much meat to it. We want the entire game to be like that, to surpass it. And it's not like we're going to just dump the player into a world that they are completely unfamiliar with and demand that, completely forget everything that you've ever been taught in a Sonic game and acclimate yourself to this completely new alien style of play. No. We're going to ease the player in. We're going to start small and branch out. We're going to start with what they're used to and introduce them to a new world in a way that's, just easy and that they can have fun in. The game begins with Sonic on this little surf off the side of the island. The idea is that he just woke up here and he doesn't know anything about this world that's ahead of him, that awaits him around the corner. And as you can see, this little patch of sand open by the tide just doesn't go very far before it reaches around the corner, before it veers away. Now, this is going to teach players that this isn't the kind of game where you can just hold forward for a while and expect Sonic to reach the end of the island. You're going to have to veer off the beaten path sometimes. You're going to have to take a risk and see what's around the corner. And it seems like an incredibly simple concept, and it is. But it's going to plant a seed in their mind that'll make them more open to other concepts that they'll be introduced to as the island starts to open up and as it, branches out. Now, when they reach around the corner, they're going to see the beach open up a little more and a little more. And, well, this is where we come to another part of exploration. What is the whole point of exploring a place you've never been to? Well, it's nice to see what this place is like, but the main point of exploring is to find things. It's why people explore temples, to see what artifacts they can find inside said ruins. And that's something that's very important about this island. We're going to reward the player for exploring. The earliest example of this is seen to the right when the player comes around this corner. They'll see an arch. And beneath the arch, if they look closely, are a few item boxes. This rewards them for stepping off of the beach and into the water. Now, this is another very important part of the island, of what makes this island unique, is that, well, water is something that tends to scare players in most Sonic games because, more often than not, there's a bottomless pit beneath it. The player is taught to stay away from water. The player is taught that it's dangerous and they need to avoid it at all costs. They need to stay on the beach where it's safe. They need to stay on this little road. They can't dare venture outside the road. But again, that's not what we want this island to be like. So the player is going to be rewarded for taking risks and venturing into places they've never been to before, places that they probably wouldn't even think of going into, such as the water. We want the player to feel bold, we want them to feel confident, we want to make them feel like they can go anywhere and just do whatever they want. And that in turn will probably make the island a lot more fun for people. Item hunting is one of the most important aspects of Sonic Exodus, and that we will constantly reward the player for venturing off the beaten path and finding such things elsewhere. One of the best examples of this is seen a little while later in this demolished bed and breakfast. Now, if the player approaches it from a certain angle, they're going to see the lobby first. And when they see this, they're going to notice there's another item box at the top of these stairs. Now, most of the time, a place like this would be cut off from the player by an invisible wall. They'd be able to look at it, but they wouldn't be able to touch it, they wouldn't be able to venture inside such a place. But here, they will be able to do that. The item will draw them to it and reward them for daring to venture into this place. And chances are, when they're done there, they'll have an incentive to venture inside the main building, which is much bigger and will have more for them to find. These are simple concepts, but it's all about teaching the player little by little as they play, if not outright daring them to expand their horizons and find new ways to approach the game. Because there is no better or best way to do it, and we don't want the player to fear that they'll be penalized for daring to go someplace or do something that they weren't supposed to do. And I think that this will give people a new way to look at Sonic games and what they have the potential to be. The simple fact is, we just want exploring to be fun. We don't want it to be a waste of time to the player. We don't want it to feel like a chore of some kind. We want them to want to do it. We want it to be fun for them. And no matter where they go, all paths will eventually lead to the other end of the island, to the goal. Because as much as they open up, they will eventually funnel back in. And the player can just leisurely just do whatever they want, go wherever they want, find whatever they want, grab whatever they want, and that in turn will just give this experience depth. It'll give it replay value, because no matter how many times the player ventures onto the island, chances are there's another place that they haven't been to yet, and another goodie that they can find. There's lots of goodies around the island, but the player is going to have to venture out of the comfort zone that Sega has trained them to let themselves be confined in. Now, another important part of exploration is set pieces, landmarks, places like the inn that will give the player a sense of where they're going and where they've been, that will make them remember certain places. And that's something we'll talk about in another video. Toodles, guys.